Hello and welcome to the show. The sixth and final round of the FailRace Touring Car Championship would head to the Nurburgring GP circuit. A tough prospect for these cars. While yes, there are a fair few sort of decent sized straights, there are also a lot of fast sweeping corners that would really test these quite understeery vehicles. I, for the final round of the championship, would actually figure out how to drive the damn touring cars and managed to be the only person to knock the Aeon cars off pole position. However, there was still an Aeon car right there alongside me at the front. The Volkswagens, they fared quite well at this circuit, in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, as was perhaps slightly expected of them, with these long flowing corners and some tight corners as well in there. The Scirocco's grip was very, very nice. The Scions make up places 7th through 9th. The traditional pole system was all the way down in 10th, having had a disconnection problem during qualifying. The Civic and my teammates would actually make it into the qualifying session, so they would start down the back of the field. Slightly reshuffled grid, and I was hoping that I could get a better start than I had been having. As we go to the start of race 1, I go very defensive early on, sweeping across the track. From further back, the Sciroccos all get off the line relatively well. It's the Aeon car, though, coming from 10th that gets a fantastic start, is already up there in the mix. I would run wide through turn 1, much like the Scirocco that we're following did, that would drop me down into a battle for around 2nd and 3rd place. And the Aeon car that had started in 10th was already halfway up the field. I think it was about 5th at this place. A couple of Sciroccos had a coming together. Cold tyres in these cars makes them quite scary to drive at times. They can be a bit twitchy. You can get some sudden oversteer, as the Scirocco we're following here finds out on the exit of a corner, and it doesn't take much. A tiny little bump with cold tyres can really upset these vehicles. Coming to the next corner here, Scirocco is on the inside as one of the Scions manages to keep it around the outside, which is well done through that corner. These Sciroccos are damn good through the corners. And behind, there's another Scion fighting off. I think it was a Civic that ended up out a little bit wide across the grass. As we run down towards the hairpin, though, while the Scion, yes, does have the acceleration, it doesn't quite have the brakes. The Volkswagen is to the inside and can make the manoeuvre stick and gets a much better run out of the corner, and the Scion is just a little bit too far back to try anything. Out of the front, and unlike the normal sort of proceedings that go on in race 1, the Aeon cars weren't running away with it at all. My start had been a little bit dodgy and I was back fighting over 3rd place. Scirocco was leading the way and fending off the second of the Aeon Focuses as we run down the start-finish straight. Such a long straight. The Fords did quite like the long straights. We come under braking into turn 1, the Aeon cars to the inside, but it's all very well and good getting your car up the inside there. It does put you on the outside for this very long corner, and being on the outside there is not really what you want with these quite understeery cars. And I'm there sort of sniffing around, having a look, seeing where I can get my car. The Scirocco is still on the inside. Both the cars, the first two, take a very, very tight line, while me and the other Aeon vehicle take much wider lines on the way in. That means we get a much better drive off the turn, and I'm side by side into the next corner. One of the Aeon cars slightly misses his braking. I get a nudge. We both go very sideways off the track. It gives the Scirocco a little bit of a breather, just enough of a breather at this particular moment in time. As you can see, there's just a bit of a gap back to the Aeon vehicle. I continue battling with the other Aeon car. Yeah, the Sciroccos just got away with it for now. Further back, one of the Scions was actually holding on okay at this stage, was in around 5th, 6th position, but was quickly coming under fire from a train of cars. A couple of Sciroccos and my teammate in the other FailRace Focus. The Scion just ran a little bit wide, and that makes you on a very, very tight line through this next corner. It makes you slow off the turn, which you don't want to be as you come down this next straight, although the Scion does have that little bit more acceleration. He's just about keeps his car around the outside of the Volkswagen, but we've seen the brakes on this Scirocco. The Scion gets brave, but he's never going to stop it in time and runs wide through the chicane. That allows the Focus past and the Volkswagen Motorsport car as well. You can't really afford a little mistake when racing ahead of this big train, and that fighting with the Scion was enough to drop the Scirocco back into the clutches of the Focus, as the Focus gets a really very, very good run out of the final turn and can get himself up the inside, and the Scirocco's got no answer for him. Down this front straight, Volkswagen is good under brakes if he's close enough to have a look, but the Focus goes a little defensive and the Volkswagen can't quite get a manoeuvre done at this point. He's sort of sniffing around trying to get to the inside, but hasn't quite got the acceleration. And certainly this group would remain close through the early parts of this race. The Focus may have got to the front of the train, but he wasn't pulling away. And of course, once you start coming under attack from the cars behind, you start driving a little bit defensively, you're both slowing each other down. It wasn't long before the Volkswagen Motorsport car would join up to this group. The Rockstar vehicle got a huge drive onto this back straight, trying to sneak his car up the inside across the curve. It's scary going too wide there with quite understeering front-wheel drive touring cars. It's not the most fun experience. This time it's the Focus that just can't quite stop the car. He does keep it there, doesn't end up in the tyre bundle, but was so tight on the sort of the line through the corner, was incredibly slow off the turn, but he slowed the Rockstar Scirocco down as well. The Volkswagen Motorsport car is having a look around the outside of the final turn. He hasn't quite got the acceleration though. Can't quite get the power, or doesn't have the acceleration. The other vehicle can't quite get the speed to get that manoeuvre done. The Focus goes to the inside, down towards turn 1. It's all about who's bravest on the brakes. The Volkswagen Motorsport car goes very, very wide on the way in, but you can sometimes get away by doing a cutback and get a good run off the turn, and sure enough, he's up the inside of the Rockstar car. Now, there's a couple of Scions I think may have had a bump in the background at turn 1. Still, the Volkswagen Motorsport car is trying to get to the inside, and of course, that little squabble behind is helping my teammate with the Focus. Eventually, the Volkswagen Motorsport car just about fights his way past, but yeah, they continued to scrap through for that position. Despite our little coming together early in the race, we remained close together on track, and yeah, we'd really found a little bit of an answer to the Aeon car's speed. I'd figured out a way of driving these cars a little bit better. Fourth gear was so useful. I think I went below fourth gear twice into turn 1 and out of the very tight chicane, just by keeping it in higher gears. You stop the wheel spin and you've got fantastic drive off the turns, and that's what I was using to really put pressure on the Aeon car. He went too deep into turn 1. I got a good drive. I couldn't quite sneak the car up the inside, but I was all over the back of him trying to find a way past again. Was just a little bit too wide through this corner. Yes, you can go defensive on the inside through here, but that's not really the line you want to be taking, because you end up being so slow through the corner that, yeah, you lose out on the next run, and I just simply outdrag him towards the next corner. It's getting that drive off the turns that was really helping me. Don't worry, but there's occasionally the odd ghost car lying around. Unfortunately, that's one of the Scions that would disconnect from this race. While yes, I had managed to outdrag the Aeon car, I was still under a little bit of threat as we come down towards the hairpin. I found myself having to go quite defensive in there. The Aeon Focus having a look around the outside, but when we're all driving equal machinery, that's quite a tough manoeuvre. You've got to be an awful lot braver and have found a lot more grip to get around the outside there, and he just couldn't quite get the move done at the front, and it was the Aeon Focus that was putting more and more pressure on the Scirocco, but he could not find a way past. He could not get a manoeuvre to stick, and the problem is that we've seen it before. The Sciroccos have such good brakes and such good sort of corner grip that the Focuses can find it quite difficult. I found at Silverstone getting past a Scirocco was quite difficult. It can be really rather hard to get past these cars as they come down towards turn 1. The Scirocco goes as defensive as he can. The Aeon car just manages to sneak himself up the inside. In the background, I continued squabbling with the over third place. We swapped positions a number of times over the sort of the mid part of the race. The Focus has finally got himself to the inside through here, but this is where the Scirocco is strong. You can see the speed it can carry through the turn. Both of them are very tight on the apex as the Aeon car tries to defend. The Volkswagen's trying to get away past, and of course they're slowing each other down quite a lot, and it won't be long before third and fourth place. You can see the gap is visibly closer now than it was. Despite the fact that we're still squabbling a bit, we're not squabbling anywhere near as hard as these two are. Volkswagen's having a look around the outside. That's a tough place to get a manoeuvre to stick, but it might have just worked if he could have got the nose a little further alongside again. down towards the hairpin, absolutely nose to tail. Volkswagen is content with trying that outside line again down here. If you can keep it around the outside, you'll be on the inside for the fast uphill chicane, and that's if you're going to go too wide up there, you certainly want to be on the inside. Again, just not quite able to carry the speed. They're practically pushing each other through the through the chicane there. It's a scary corner in these cars. It's not flat out, it is a dab on the brakes. On the way up there, I wouldn't have wanted a car playing Morse code on my rear bumper through that particular corner as I take her. I'm exploring. Don't ignore my focus in the background. I was exploring some alternate lines over there. The Scirocco got again, another fantastic run onto this back straight, just able to carry that little bit more speed. It's side by side through another very fast section of the track, and now we come up towards the tight chicane. The Scirocco is on the inside. The Focus is having a go all the way around the outside. They both overshoot the corner a little bit. They're both banging doors on the way out of the turn and have slowed each other down massively. me and the second Aeon car are right up in there. My turn to miss my brakes a tiny little bit and just collect the back of the vehicle in second. I do apologise for that one. Yeah, it was my bad. Just a tiny miscalculation on the brakes, and I clattered the back of the vehicle ahead. That meant the Scirocco was now having to defend from yet another Focus as we came onto the final few laps. The Scirocco running a little bit wide across the AstroTurf there, and if you end up running wide out there, you may think, oh, you sort of, you know, your corner extending or whatever. It's not an advantage at all to end up out there because it puts you at a wonky line through the next corner, and as the Focus goes to have a look at the inside, he just about manages to sneak his nose up there, but the Scirocco can stay around the outside. That means the Focus kind of has to back off a little bit through the final chicane, and he can't quite get the power down out the other side of the corner. The Volkswagen can keep the position as it rounds the final turn, and the Focus is just too far back. The Focus can't do anything, even with that straight line speed that the Ford has. It's far too far back to try anything down this start-finish straight, which means that a Scirocco is going to get its first victory in the Touring Car Championship at the first race at Nurburgring. You may have seen in the background, third place was rather close, shall we say. We come up through the chicane. I get just a better run through here. The Aeon car clatters the curb on the inside, puts it on two wheels, makes it slow off the turn, and as we come up towards the final corner, I give him just a tiny little bump, just enough to create a bit of space that I manage to squeeze my Focus up the inside, and I'm using that technique, keeping it in a much higher gear than you would perhaps normally, gives me a better run off that final turn. I can squeeze my car up the inside, and I manage to claim a podium spot. There was a little bit of bumping in this one. I have to say, it was a bloody good fun race at the front here. Any one of the top four cars could have won. Much like we had any one of three cars could have won at Silverstone, any one of us top four could have taken victory at Nürburgring. In the end, it is the Sciroccos that claim their first victory of the championship ahead of an Aeon vehicle. I think it's the first time we haven't had two Aeon cars on the podium as well in a race, as I claim third. But yeah, we were all quite a long way ahead of the 5th, 6th and 7th place battles. As expected, the Sciroccos did fare pretty well, all the Rockstar cars in the top 7, my teammate down in 8th. The Scions didn't have a huge amount of fun on this circuit. In all honesty, wasn't really a track sort of suited to them cars. It's just too many sort of long sweeping corners, and while yes, the Scions do have the acceleration, they really do struggle a little bit through the turns. So yeah, not really a Scion day in this one. We move on to the second race, this time with, of course, the full reverse grid. One of the Scions had a little problem with getting his car off the line. It was a strange glitch with game times going on, showing different for him. So yeah, one of the Scions had a very, very poor start. The Aeon car, starting from towards the back, again made huge gains on the opening lap. I would get unlucky getting spun out in the first turn. It's just one of the dangers of the hairpin that is turn 1 at Nürburgring. It's all too wide as we file through these corners, and you see cars struggling with their cold rear tyres as the second FailRace Focus and a Civic get together. And again, it was just it's a Scirocco out very wide as well. well. It's just those cold tyres, tiny little bumps, really unsettles the car. The Civic did very well to actually spin across the track and sort of stay out of trouble in that, or not be collected by anybody else. He was in trouble, he was pointing backwards, but he didn't get collected by any of the other cars. And this Aeon Focus here got a fantastic drive coming up towards the hairpin, trying to make as much progress as he could on the opening lap. He's looking towards the inside and gets very brave on the brakes. Will run a little bit wide on the sort of way out of the corner, but the Scirocco couldn't quite do anything about it, and the Volkswagen Motorsport car was a little bit slow off the turn as well. The Focus has a go up the inside as they go too wide. This is still on cold tyres on the first lap. You can see the FailRace Focus gets a big slide, and somehow this Aeon car gets the position away from the Volkswagen. That is a brave overtake, going too wide on the opening lap up the hill, and then it's all too wide further back. Yeah, that's not a manoeuvre that I would have been sort of close your eyes and pray moment. Going up that corner. The Scirocco here just out a little bit wide, and there was a 3-car Volkswagen train all trying to get past one another. Again, we see that's that wide line on the way into this corner can really gain you a lot of speed. Unfortunately for the Rockstar car, well, there was a vehicle in front of him, and he couldn't really do anything with all of that speed other than kind of bump him a little bit through the turn. It's too wide further back between the FailRace Focus, a Scion, and some other vehicles involved as well. One of the Rockstar cars had a bit of an off at the corner. Everybody just about managing to avoid him as we all fly down towards the hairpin. Still, the black Rockstar car is there having a look. Volkswagen Motorsport has to go defensive. This time, the Rockstar car just about gets it sort of stopped and tries the around the outside manoeuvre, and he has got the drive off the turn, and we're again going to see cars going too wide up the hill. They give each other space, tiny little bit of bumping. There's a the white Rockstar car was all over the curves, very nearly got himself into trouble. The black car just can't quite get far enough alongside. The blue one again is running a little bit wide. Now we have a huge train all gathered. As I said, once you start defending, once you start slowing each other down like that, the cars behind are going to catch up, and then you end up with this kind of predicament with just a huge train of cars as they all run down towards the slow chicane. It's too wide with the Sciroccos. They make it 3 wide. It's just little bits of contact between them all end disastrously for the black Rockstar car. I will get caught up in that thing's spectacular sort of flip across the track, and yeah, it was a tiny knock from the white car on the rear of the vehicle we're following that then had a tiny knock on the black Rockstar car that then didn't have a tiny knock on the wall. Is one of those things that unfortunately a bit of a chain reaction going on into the braking zone. It was the black Rockstar car that certainly came off the worst of that. Everybody else wasn't too bad. It could have got a lot worse, that sort of incident at the front, and it was one of the Aeon vehicles that was currently leading the way, although currently ignoring the apexes of the corner through that particular turn, and was coming under a little bit of pressure from the third of the Rockstar Sciroccos. Unfortunately for the Aeon Focus, he would suffer some internet problems and would promptly disconnect as he gets it very sideways. The Scirocco there is having a look around the outside. He can't quite get an overtake done, and the Focus has that acceleration down towards the hairpin. But his lead would be short-lived with a little bit of technical problems. It's a shame, as you can see the gap back to the rest of the field, but it's something that can happen when it comes to racing online. It's just one of those things that can happen to anybody at any time with internet issues. And now you can see the Focus a little bit more comfortable after it calmed down for a couple of corners. But the internet would play a bit of a factor. This mid-pack battle was rather frantic, shall we say, as I was trying to make my way back up through the field after about first lap. The second of the Aeon Focuses was trying to make his way up after a crash on one of the early laps as well. I was having a go trying to get past my teammate, sort of got my car to the inside. There was just about some space there as we go round the hairpin, managed to make the manoeuvre stick. Now the Aeon Focus is trying to find a way past as well as we come up towards the very quick chicanes, and we're all the meantime catching what was now the second place Scirocco. We've got the same scenario as we're all fighting, we're all slowing each other down. It was keeping this group as a really rather large train. The Aeon Focus has a big dive up the inside, but that puts him very wide through the next corner. There's a little bit of bumping as they try and go too wide. I got myself in all sorts of trouble on my own accord there, running very, very wide and just clipping the gravel. Just got a little bit too much understeer as the two focuses continue to fight through the fast kink. I'm now involved. It's 3 wide into the chicane, which I didn't really want to be a part of. I slightly backed out as I had not a huge amount of momentum coming down that back straight. I got overtaken by the pair of them into the chicane. They're still squabbling over the position. I got myself in a bit of trouble with that slight brush on the gravel, and now I've got the Volkswagen Motorsport car for company. It was all very frantic at this mid-pack stuff as we head down the start-finish straight, all sort of slipstreaming with one another. Further back and trying to do a bit of a recovery drive after the unfortunate incident with the tyre bundle at the chicane. The black Scirocco had caught to the back of the train, found a couple of fighting Civics that were squabbling over, I think it was about 10th place or something, and the Scirocco, using all of that acceleration, all of that quarter speed that he could, gets his car up the inside of the Civics. The Civics are pretty good in a straight line. The Scirocco's has just got the brakes. The Honda braves it out around the outside, but he hasn't quite got the grip, can't quite keep that position. The Volkswagen would then go and chase down the Civic ahead. Is thinking about it through the uphill chicane, can't quite get close enough, running a little bit wide across the exit. I would have a little bit of a bump with my teammate in the hairpin that would let the Aeon car through and drop me back behind the Scirocco. You can see the ghost car again where someone disconnected, trying to find a way back past this Volkswagen, and in the braking zone to the chicane, quite unlikely. The other FailRace car got a little bit wide out of the chicane, a wheel on the grass. That slowed his run out of that corner. He's fighting with the Scirocco, and as I said, like, the rest of the pack wasn't that far behind us. There's a Scion behind this little group. You can see the Civics and the black Scirocco somewhere down there as well. Yeah, we were really really fighting quite viciously over these positions. I managed to get myself to the inside, use that acceleration of the Focus to get past the Volkswagen. I'm then having a bit of a look at my teammate. The Scirocco gets the cutback on the exit, and it's 3 wide out of the first corner. Volkswagen doesn't want to go all the way around the outside of the pair of us through the second corner, which is probably a wise decision. He gets his car to the inside, and I can't do anything about it. A slight tag on the other FailRace Focus sends the Ford sideways. I'm around the outside, and using that wide line can get a really good run off the turn and get my car past the Scirocco. It certainly did feel like an end-of-season race. There was, shall we say, a little bit of bumping going on in this one. The Focus, though, wasn't quite done. He got a good run through these next couple of corners, as I was just having to be a little bit careful, just to defend from the Scirocco. I think I may have slowed the Scirocco down a little bit coming on this back straight, as the Focus is right there behind him. Scirocco leaves the door wide open, just outbraked himself a little tiny bit, I think. The Focus has a dive up the inside, but he can't quite get the position yet, and then we're going to go too wide again. The blue Scirocco went too wide 3 times, 3 times that I saw up this chicane, which is, yeah, not a place you want to be going too wide if you can help it. He does keep the position, though, with a little bit of bravery, a little bit of swapping paint. The Focus that's getting a little bit bullied in this race gets clobbered by the Scion there, and the black Rockstar Scirocco has now caught up to this group. A couple of laps ago, he was well off the back of the train behind the Civics, and now he's right there fighting with this lot. Yeah, the fighting was quite intense. You can see the gap that I've made just in this half a lap. As these two fought over positions. The Scirocco was slow into the chicane, and now the Focus is still all over the back of him, trying to get way past, but can't quite do it. Come around the final turn, he's trying to sneak his nose up the inside, but it's not quite enough. Yeah, it was an exciting battle. There's exciting battles throughout the field. Released from the mid-pack craziness, me and the Aeon car set about chasing down the first couple of Sciroccos. The Aeon car would make a relatively simple pass to get past what was now 3rd place, and I too would get to the inside using that traction on the way out of the hairpin could get my car up alongside. I could get the move done even before we got to the to the far chicane, which is nice. As I said, it's not fun going too high, especially not if you're on the outside of the first bar with these quite understeery cars. The Volkswagen was still close, had to be a little bit wary. I knew about just how good the brakes were on the Scirocco and how much speed he'd been managing to get through these corners, and I ran a bit too wide, which was less than ideal. Fortunately, I was just far enough ahead. I somehow managed to keep enough speed, keep enough momentum to get my car out of the other side. And this group were still squabbling absolutely nose to tail through the chicane. The Focus goes to the inside, gets a little bit squeezed, brushes the wall, and that slows him down, but it slowed down the blue Scirocco as well in that manoeuvre, as the Rockstar car now goes to the inside. We're side by side down the straight. And of course, the Focus has that better straight line speed, and he's going to be sitting right in the slipstream as these two squabble into turn one. So by the time they get to the stopping point for turn one, he's right there on the tail of them. It's a little bit too of a tighter line for the Ford, just loses a little bit of ground to this pair. The Rockstar Scirocco has got the position but is still coming under fire. Volkswagen Motorsport car to the inside around this next corner. That forces the Rockstar car to take a very tight line through this next turn, which, as we've seen, you don't really want to be doing. The blue Scirocco keeps it all the way around the outside. The Ford is across the curb, but isn't having to worry about being side by side with cars the entire time. And again, it's not long before the Focus would be right on the back of this train, and still the Rockstar car cannot find a way past. We come down this back straight now. You can get a good enough run down here. The inside of the hairpin is a pretty good spot for overtake, or even around the outside if you're brave enough and can get the grip out of the car. But the Rockstar vehicle is a little bit too far back to really be trying anything. The Focus is in there as well. The black car is in perhaps the worst of positions. You want to go full on attack with the vehicle ahead, but you've got to be careful, because if you go on full on attack, you've got a car right behind you that will very, very quickly take the place away from you. A little bit of bumping through the uphill chicane, that allows the Focus to be right there, and again we're three wide into a braking zone. Again, it doesn't really work. I think it's a little, again, it was another one of the chain reactions, a little tag from the black Scirocco, put the Focus across the track a little bit to the right as the Volkswagen Motorsport car wanted to turn in. And yeah, unfortunately, it just wasn't my teammate's day in this race. Got himself in all the scraps pretty much. At the front, we were gradually reeling in the leader, but we were running out of laps to do it, and I had caught up to the back of second place, and we proceeded to slow each other down with our fighting. Yeah, we didn't have really enough laps to ever quite catch up to the lead Scirocco, and certainly not when we started scrapping for second place. I was again getting that really good run out of the final corner, and of course sitting in the slipstream down this nice long straight was helping as the Aeon car goes defensive to the inside. Now I don't mind too much going around or going to the outside of this corner. You can cut back to the inside, and again I was using that really good drive off the turn. Ignore the plumes of smoke, I think it's just a laggy replay going on with these cars stuck on the outside. I was hoping I could have got across, sort of got ahead and got across through that turn. I couldn't quite make it stick, still stuck on the outside through here, but I was hoping I could make him take a tight line. He takes a slightly tighter line than me through this next corner, but it's not really quite enough for me to make the most of my run through the turn. I have got a better run down to this next corner, but can't quite do anything with it. I'm still stuck on the outside. The Aeon car is across the grass, which is not really quite where you want to be. And this is how we raced for about 3 laps, I think it was. We were just squabbling for position. We could see the leader, the lead Scirocco. We were, even with our fighting, we were very slowly catching him. Of course, we weren't catching him as quickly as we could have been had we not been fighting like this. We come out of the hairpin. I'm right on the bumper of the Aeon car. I just can't quite find a way past. Of course, we're at exactly the same cars, so we have exactly the same strengths and weaknesses throughout the track. I try to get my car alongside him anywhere I can. This time going to the outside, make the Aeon car take a tighter line, make him a little bit slower through this corner, and sure enough, he's wide on the exit as he has to defend into the next turn. I'm trying to go all the way around the outside. There's just not quite space for my Focus there. I can't get my car far enough alongside to sort of force the point. And again, I'm practically pushing the Aeon car all the way down this straight, but he can keep it on the inside. He can keep going defensive, and only if I can get my car all the way around the outside there can I slow him down enough through the chicane, and I can't quite do it. He's still just far enough ahead to move his car across, and I'm having to take the wide line into the final corner as I'm still looking for some way that I can get ahead of this car, and this time I didn't quite get as good a run out of the turn, and as we came on to the final lap, I was still probing, I was still looking for a way past. The focus ahead gets it a little bit wrong through the chicane, ate a little bit too much curb on the inside. I get my car, it's on the outside though through this next one. I did just about get it ahead, but it is stuck on the outside. I keep my car around there though. I was far enough alongside to make the move stick. Get it to the inside. Again, a little bit of leaning on each other through that turn. This time I managed to just get my car enough ahead to squeeze the Aon car out as we come down this this back straight up towards the chicane. The Aon car though, he wasn't done quite yet. He has a big look at the chicane, returns the favour that I gave to him in a race one, just bumps me a little bit into the chicane. That puts me out wide for the first part, makes me slow through the second part. He can sneak up the inside into the final corner as I would end up running a little bit too wide. I was trying to get a cutback, trying to get a good run out of that turn, but it wasn't quite good enough, which means that while all that was going on at the front, it was to be another Rockstar Scirocco, a different one this time, that would go on to claim victory. Certainly helped by a disconnecting Aon Focus, but he drove very well, kept himself out of trouble, didn't make any mistakes, and made a big enough lead early on while the rest of us were squabbling over positions that even a late charge from me on the Aon Focus couldn't quite do anything about it. Again, another very, very good fun race, this one at Nurburgring. So the results for race 2, it is funnily enough, the German track has been quite good to the German manufacturer, as we have our 5th different winner in the Touring Car Championship. Aon Racing Focus taking second, with me rounding out the podium. Again, the other Sciroccos did pretty well here, 4th, 5th and 6th for the remaining Sciroccos. Yeah, definitely the Rockstar cars fared quite well at this circuit. My teammates down in 7th, and a Scion managed to make his way up into the top 8. But yeah, as I said, wasn't really a Scion track. The two Civics fought a little while for 9th and 10th. Sadly, I think 11th, 12th and 13th, all of them would suffer disconnection problems in this our final race. A little bit unfortunate, but as I said, it is what can happen when it comes to online racing. Now on to the championship, the final championship results. It is unsurprising, perhaps, that we have the two Aon Focuses in 1st and 2nd. However, I was closing the gap to 2nd place through the final rounds. If I'd had a better race here at Nurburgring, I certainly had the pace at Nurburg. Yeah, in the end, I just ran out of races to do anything about 2nd place. It was rather close over 4th place. 3 points separate 4th, 5th and 6th. Yeah, quite close further back. Amazingly, in 12th place, the CQR car did one race at Silverstone and got himself to 12th in the championship. Then there are a mixture of drivers who only competed in a few number of events. In the description of this video, I'll put a link, so if you want to see the full the full-on table, because there's far more than 16 people raced in this, so you can go and have a look at the full championship results. But that is it for the FailRace Touring Car Championship. We had a pretty damn exciting races at Nürburgring, and it was a very, very good fun championship. Thank you very much to Integra for hosting all of this. Had a hell of a lot of fun. I'm quite annoyed I only figured out how to drive these cars on the final race, but yeah, I guess it happens. For future reference, I will now know how to drive very, very crazy turbo-rallied engined front-wheel drive cars. But yeah, that is it for this video and for this championship. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and until next time, goodbye.